Hi guys, and welcome back to Yarn and Heart. Today is gonna be a bit of a different video because I will show you how you can make this kind of vest. I did this a week ago and it's pretty simple, and I'm gonna make another one, and I thought I could take you with me, make a little tutorial. I would say it's pretty beginner friendly. It's not too hard. You have to know how to do the stockinette stitch, and you have to know how to decrease and how to bind off, which are pretty simple techniques, and I will explain throughout the process how I did it. So this one is plain and it's got this little graph in the front, but today I'm gonna make one with stripes. You can do it with the stripes or you can do it without the stripes. If you do it without the stripes and with a graph, it's basically just work one color until it comes to the end basically. And if you're working with the graph, you have to figure out which size you want to have the graph and then just set it on your project basically. I'm not going to show you how to make the graph today, but I'm going to show you how I make these stripes. I just did this sample to see how the colors will look together and how many rows I need of each of the color, and the rest I'm gonna show you. So let's go. For my project I'm gonna use 3 different colors. It's a white color, a red color, and this light rosé color. It's like a mohair mix with acrylic. Can you see the texture? And it's a sport weight yarn. It's 150 meter on 50 grams, and the recommended needle size is 3.5 to 4. Then you need needles. I'm gonna take 6mm needles, round needles. Then I'm gonna need a measuring tape, tapestry needle, stitch markers, and scissor, and whatever you like. You could use like a notebook, or you can use a stitch count to write everything down. So for the cast on, I can give you a little bit of context. I'm gonna do a cast on of 50 stitches. I'm gonna do a long tail cast on. I'm gonna show you in a minute how I do that, and this will be about 40 centimeters to give you a little bit of reference. But it's important to know that this kind of knitting stretches quite a bit, so don't make your project too wide or it will be too loose on your body. So I'm gonna start with my white, and I'm gonna do a long tail cast on. So I'm just gonna take the yarn. If you're not sure how much yarn you need for a long tail cast on, there's a good measuring method. You can take your yarn and wrap it around your needle for 50 times like this, and then you will have the approximate amount of yarn that you will need for your long tail cast on. Finger here, and you're gonna make a slip knot. So take the yarn, here's the short end. I'm gonna put that on the top, and you have the long end here. I'm gonna take it like this. Take the long end between your fingers and pull. Now you can pull it close, put your needle in it, and then you will have the long tail with the yarn attached. You will have the long tail with the yarn attached, you will have in the back, and you will have the shorter piece in front. Then you can take your middle finger and your ring finger and take them yarn in between. With your index finger and your thumb, you're gonna make a diamond, and then you twist it like this, and then you're gonna go with your needle between the yarns on your thumb, and you're gonna get the yarn here like this. So you're gonna do it like this, You go in here, and then you're gonna take the yarn in front here and pull it through. I hope I explained it well. So I've got 25 stitches on my needles, and then I'm gonna put a stitch marker. So if I lose count, I only have to count from the stitch marker on, and I know how much I will have behind the stitch marker. So I've got 50 stitches cast on my needle right now. I count them twice always because I want to be sure, and then I'm gonna start knitting. So you finished casting on like this, then you turn it so you have the long one in front and the short one in the back. Then you start knitting, and I'm just gonna do a stockinette stitch. So I knit the front and I purl the back. I'm gonna count the first row, so I put my row counter here. I'm not gonna show you how to knit, because if you're still learning how to knit, you should watch another tutorial, but I'm just gonna show you what I'm doing. You're just gonna continue like this till you knit the whole row basically, and I'm gonna show you how you continue when you reach the end of the row. So I just finished my second row. I'm gonna put down the row count, and it looks like this. I'm just gonna push it to the front. With this kind of yarn, you have to be careful because it's very slippery, and it happened to me too that it like slipped off my needles. So just be careful when you're working with this kind of mohair mix yarn. So basically, when you arrive here, so you knitted the last one, you're gonna turn it like this, so you have this tail in the front, and then you're gonna take your needle, you keep the tail in front, put it around your finger, and then the beginning is a bit tricky. I just push it down with my middle finger. I'm gonna grab the loop and just purl the second row like this. If you don't know how to purl, I would recommend you watching a tutorial specifically on that, but it's basically really easy. You just have your needles, then you got your thread in front, and you go in front of the needle, place it around it, pull through, and take the stitch off your needle, and that's how you continue. Basically the same thing as in the back. You just place your needle in front, wrap your thread around, go to the back and take off. And I'm just gonna continue like this till the end of the row. So I'm gonna meet you at the end of the row. I just knitted my last stitch of my purl row, and I end like this. And before I do anything else, I'm gonna do my row count, and then you have it like this, you turn it like this, and the next one is gonna be a knit row. You just knit your 50 stitches as I have showed you before. So you're gonna start like this, and now you go to the back, you put your needle here, get the thread and take it to the front, slip it off. So it's a bit hard if I do it through the camera. And you're gonna continue like this till the end of the row. So once again, you finished your fourth row, your knitting row. Before I do anything else, I'm gonna put down a row count, and then you finish like this. You turn it around like this, and the next one is gonna be a purl round. Put your needle in, thread around, go to the back and slip it off. This I usually push down this thread with my thumb, and then pull through, push down the yarn, pull through. So this is a pretty easy tutorial for beginners. I like to do things I would have liked when I started with my knitting or crochet journey, so I'm gonna do that for people who are in their beginnings. You continue with the purling until you reach your last stitch as before, and then I will show you how to continue, because after 5 rows we're gonna do a color change. So I'm gonna meet you at the end of the purl row. So there we are, we at the end of row 5. That's how you finished. Before anything else, I'm gonna do the row count. So I've got 5 rows now, and the pattern is basically knit 5 rows, and then I'm gonna do 2 rows of the red, 1 row of the pink color, and 2 rows of the red. Again, we're gonna change colors on the knitting side. This is the knitting side, this is the purl side. You can see the difference pretty well. I'm gonna take the red color and I'm gonna do a loop and just hold in between my middle and my index finger, and then I'm gonna grab my needle as I would knit normally, and then I put it through because it's a knitting, so I will put my needle from the front to the back, and I'm gonna put this loop on the needle like this, and then I'm gonna pull it through the first one. And then this is a bit tricky, so I usually pull on the string so I can secure it. So this is the string attached to my yarn ball. I tie it a bit so it will hold here. Can you see this? So I pulled here and this one tightens, and then I got my first stitch here, or my first loop, and I pull on the other string which is attached to my other ball of yarn, so it will tighten a bit. And then you take your red thread and take it into your hand as normal. I usually secure the shorter thread with my fingers like this. Can you see it? And then I'm gonna continue with the knitting row like normally. So I go from the front to the back, slide it off, just like you would knit with the white color. If you don't want to make a color change, if you want to knit in all the same color, or you want to make a color change later, you can absolutely do it. If you don't want to make a color change, you just continue with your first color basically. And I'm gonna continue like this with my red till the end of the row, and I'm gonna meet you at the end. Here we are, we're at the end of the row. And maybe you wondered why I haven't cut off the white color yet. I usually leave it for 1 row, so if I made a mistake or something else, I still have the yarn attached. But after I knitted a whole row, I'm gonna cut it off, leave some here. Wait, first row count. I'm gonna put red so I don't get confused. I've got 1 row of the red color, and then I can cut off my first yarn. For me it's the white, and I will not need this for another 4 rows. Kind of put it to the side. So, and now you finished like this with your red row. And then I'm gonna turn it like before, and I'm gonna purl the next row like I showed you from the front. Press down with my thumb, pull it through, slip it off like this. Just continue like that, and I'm gonna meet you at the end of the row. I almost reached the end of my row. Be careful here because this row or this thread is not quite secured. Just be careful, don't pull too much. Take it off, and then I'm gonna pull this one to tighten it, and you got your second red row. I'm gonna do a row countdown, and then you have 5 rows of white, 2 rows of red. I'm gonna change color again. For 1 row it's gonna be the light pink color, because I want to have this zigzag effect in the middle. So I'm gonna do that for 1 row like before. I'm gonna take my work, put the needle in front as I would knit, make a loop, put it on in the back like this, pull through, slide off, and then I'm gonna take the light pink yarn into my hand and knit the next row like normal. You knit to the end of the row and we're gonna meet there, because there will be another color change, but on the purl side. That's where we're at. We just knitted this light pink row, and I'm gonna put down the row count, and then I'm gonna cut off the red thread like this, because we're gonna change color again. We're gonna change back to the red color on the purl side this time. It's pretty simple. You have your work like this. On the purl side, you slide in through the front, you make a loop with your next color, you put it on your needle, slide it through to the back and take it off. As before, I like to pull the thread to keep it in place, and then take this new color into my hands and continue with the purl row as you did before. I'm gonna purl back. This is row 9, row 4, since the white one, or your base color. We're gonna meet at the end of the row again. So I finished this row, put down the row count, and then I'm gonna continue. I'm gonna cut off my light pink yarn, and then I'm gonna do the next row with knitting again like before. You already know that one, right? Just knit till you reach the end of the row. That's where we're at. As you can see, I did 5 rows of the white, I did 2 rows of the red, 1 of the pink in the middle, and 1 of the red. So 2, 1, 2 equals 5. So you're at 10 rows at the moment, but I'm gonna show you once again how to do the color change. So I'm gonna change back to the white color. If you don't want to make a color change, you just continue with your same color. And if you do a color work, you can figure out when you have to start with the color work. So basically I can show you how I did it. I counted the rows of my color work, and then the width and the height, and then I figured out, so basically this project was 50 stitches and my color work was 20, so I knew I need to knit 15 from this side and this side. I tried to figure out how many rows I have to knit up, so I have it on my chest area, but you can do however you like. If you have another graph, you can use that. You have just to figure out where to put it. If you're a beginner, maybe just do stripes or something and don't start with a color work. If you're a bit more advanced, you know how to do the color work, obviously. So, but we're gonna change color again. So I stopped here. I'm gonna turn my work, pull it tight, and I'm gonna take my white color. I have to be careful because they look really similar. And we're gonna change color on the purl side. So I'm gonna go in from the front, make a little loop, pull it through, slide off, and continue with my row. I don't cut off the red thread yet. You can do it if you'd like, but that's just how I work basically. And then you're gonna purl the first row, and then you're gonna knit and purl and knit until you have 5 rows. So for understanding rows, I'm gonna need 5 again, and I count knit and I count purl rows. And now I'm just gonna continue. If you want to keep changing, if you want to keep doing this stripe pattern, you just repeat everything I just showed you with the color changing. So 2 rows of red, 1 row of pink or whatever, and 2 rows of red, so 5. So you work 5 rows of white, 5 rows of the colors, 5 rows of white, 5 rows of the color. I just finished the row 29, and we're gonna start decreasing on row 30. So after you finished your 29th row, you're gonna start decreasing on the 30th row. This will be a knitting row. I will be doing my first decrease with while I'm working on the red, and I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna decrease, and you're gonna decrease for 5 rows. So you just finished your 29th row. The 29th was a purl row. Now we're on the 30th row, and for decreasing I do knit 2. This gives me a nice border, and then I have these 2 and I'm gonna knit them together. So I'm going like I would knit the 1. I'm just going under 2, put my yarn around, pull through, and I have my first decrease. So I had 2 loops and now I have 1, and then I'm just gonna continue like normally, just a normal knit row all the way through. You have to push a little bit. How do you like the tutorial so far? If you have any questions, just leave a comment. You don't want to knit all the row. You want to knit until you've got 4 stitches left on your needle like this, and then you're gonna decrease on this side. I'm gonna do it basically the same way as I did on the other side. I know there are a lot of different ways how you can decrease, but that's just how I do it. So basically you go under the 2, put your yarn over, pull through, and then you have only 1 left on your needle. You got your 2 decreases down here. Then you will knit the last 2s, and you did your first decrease. And then, so I don't lose track, I'm gonna mark the 30th row, and I'm gonna do an extra so I can count how many decreases I made. 1. Now it's time to, because you can see I've got 5 of the colored rows, so next one will be a purl row. I'm gonna take my needle, put it in, take the new color, slip it through, just tighten a bit, and I've got the white on my needle. And for the next row, it's a purl row, and we're not gonna decrease on the purl row. We're only gonna do the decreases on the knitted rows. So I'm just gonna purl all the way through, and then I'll be back for the next decrease row. So I just finished my purl row. I'm gonna write down, and just for understanding, I'm gonna count twice. So basically when I finished a row, I'm gonna put 1 down, and when I finish a decrease row, I basically put 2, so I can count the rows and I count the decreases I've made, just for understanding how I count. You can count however you like, that's just the way I do it. I always do it like this. So we're gonna continue working with the white, and now we got a knitted row. So that means it's a decrease row. So I'm gonna knit 2, and then I'm gonna knit 2 together, just like I would normally knit. Go under, put your yarn around, pull through, and take off the stitches. You can see I have 2 here and I've got 1 on the needle, so you've got 1 less on this side. And then you knit normally until you got 4 stitches left on the needle, and then I'm gonna show you again how I decrease on the other side. I worked all the way to the end, and then I'm gonna knit 2 together. So I go under this one, put my yarn around, pull through, looks like this, pull it off, and just need to do these last 2 stitches as normal, and then you have second decrease. So now I made 1 row of the white and I made 1 decrease more, and then I'm going to continue purl, knit, purl, and I will come back when I have got 5 rows of decrease here. So I just finished my light pink row and I finished my decreases. If you did the decreases correctly and if you had cast on the same amount of stitches as I did, you will have 40 stitches on your needles right now. Now you're on row 38. Yes, you're just finished row 38. I will come back when I finished row 61 and we're gonna do row 62 together. So I just finished my 61st row, so I'm just gonna put it down. Let's see. So the 62nd row would be, or is gonna be, a knitting row, and I'm on the white again. So just so you know where I'm at, I'm gonna give you the measurements just to give you a point of reference. If I don't stretch it, gonna lay it out. I mean, it stretches by itself anyway, but if I'm laying it out, I'm at around 39 centimeters height. And now I'm gonna figure out where to bind off the neck hole. So I just marked the stitches where I'm gonna bind off. I just marked the middle and then counted out the stitches. Just so you know, I'm gonna bind off 20 stitches in the middle. I will have 10 stitches on the side. I forgot how it's called. And I'm gonna make 2 rounds of decrease, so I will end up with 8 stitches left here. To bind off, as I told you already, it's a knitting row and it's the 62nd row. I'm just gonna start with knitting as normally. So I'm gonna knit until I have 4 stitches left, and then I'm gonna decrease in knitting 2 together, it off, and knit 2 like before. I'm gonna slide over my stitch marker and then I'm starting to bind off. I'm gonna do that in knitting 2 and then sliding 1 over the other. The next, just slide 1 over the other, slide over, I saw some people doing this with a crochet hook, but my hands are full with 2 knitting needles, yarn, and my project. Just check that The stitch marker on the other side is still in place. So count your stitches. You have to have 10 on this side, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Perfect. This side, you can remove this stitch marker and then just knit another one. Then you have 2 knitted like normal. Then you're gonna knit 2 together as I showed you before. It's getting harder. Like this, knit 2 together like this, and just knit like normal till you have reached the end. I was just wondering why did I only have 9 stitches here, but I did decrease. So after that row you should have 9 stitches over here and 9 stitches over here, and it should look something like this. And this would be row 62. And now for the next step, it's going to be a purl, but you're just working on this side, and we will be finishing in this side, and then when we finish this side we're going to continue on to this side. So I just write down that I have to purl first on this side. Turn our work. We are not going to decrease on the purl side, we're just gonna work like normal, just like a normal purl. So, and then left side, I'm just gonna write it down. I got 63, and on the right side I'm still at row 62 because I haven't worked the other side. I just did row 65 with a purl. Then we have another knitted row, but for this last knitted row I'm not gonna do decreasing. I'm just gonna knit it like normal because I already got 2 decreases in here, so I will have 8 stitches left on my needles on this side. I'm just gonna do a normal knit. So I'm on row, I just knitted, I'm on row 66. I'm gonna turn it and I'm gonna bind off on the purl side. So I'm gonna do the purl row. This will be row 67, and that's when you bind off. You do purl like normal, you just flip one over the other like I showed you before. Purl one, slip it over. So you take this one, flip it over, then you have the last one. I'm just gonna put it here, take this one, flip it over, and then it looks like this. I'm gonna take my scissors, bind off, slip through, and you're done. So we finished the left side and now we're working on the right side. That means we're at row 62 on the right side. That means we're gonna purl on the 63rd row. You've got your work here, and the first row is gonna be a purl one, and you work from the middle out. You're not gonna, so that will be 63rd row. Then we're on row number 64, which is gonna be a decrease row. We're gonna be decreasing here, so that means we're knitting from the outside like normal until we got 4 stitches left on the needle. We're gonna knit two together and knit two normal, like this. That will be row 64. Then we've got another purl row, that will be row 65. Then we have another knitting round without decreasing, because we've got 2, 4, 6, 8 stitches on the needle, so we don't have to do any more decreases. We're just gonna knit these 8 stitches like normal. Then we're on row 66, and then we're gonna bind off on row 67. Gonna bind off on purl row, so we're gonna purl 2. Then we're gonna slip the first. Every time I work through camera, it's not going well. Annoying, but whatever. So I slipped the last one. I'm gonna cut up and take it out. And then we have row 67, which is bind off. And then you have your finished front piece. This is the front or the back, it doesn't matter, because for a vest you have to make, so you can see my mess. For the back or the front, whatever, you have to make this exact piece once again. It's the exact the same as you can see here. It's the same. The only thing I changed from this one to this one is I made the neck hole a bit wider, because this one is a bit too tight. My head is small, so it works, but I'm gonna make the second panel of this, and I'll be back and I'm gonna show you how to join them together. I'm gonna do that with a mattress stitch. You can use whatever you prefer, but I'm just gonna show you how to do the mattress stitch, and also up here. And then I'm gonna crochet a border around here, and I'm gonna pick up some stitches around the armholes and do a border around here. And if you wanna see that, you can keep on watching. If you just wanna see the end result, you can skip to the end. So welcome back. We're here. I got my 2 panels. I finished them. I made them exactly the same, and now I'm gonna join them, and I'm using the mattress stitch to do that. I'm honestly not the best at explaining the mattress stitch, because I've just recently learned it and I'm still trying to figure out how to actually like properly do it. So I'm not gonna explain you like in detail, because yeah, the mattress stitch is worked from the front. I'm gonna take a thread, so you take your right sides and put it up to next to each other. A mattress stitch is worked in not the front, but this part in between. Can you see those horizontal lines here? So mattress stitch is worked in here on both sides. So I'm just gonna join in my thread. This, just leave a bit out so you can knot it up in the end, and then join the other side. And then I'm gonna work the mattress stitch. I'm gonna zoom you in. So mattress stitch is basically a zigzag, and so you're gonna look for the vertical line, and then you're gonna put your needle under it, pull through. You don't have to pull tight, or you're gonna do that later. And then you go to the horizontal line on the other side, pull through. Then you're gonna look for the next one right here. You're gonna put your needle under it, pull through, and then you're gonna look for the next one, pull under it. Because I weaved in my ends, sometimes it's a bit hard to know where it is exactly. Just gonna pull it out, and then you can see it. It can be a bit harder once you've weaved in your ends. And then once you've made a few stitches, you can just pull on the bottom and pull up, and it's giving this really nice seam that you can't really see. And then I'm just gonna continue, and it can take a while but needs a little bit of patience, but I just really like this technique because it looks so neat and so clean, and it's giving you a really nice seam in the end. And I can see from the front like where I'm, and you just like you do a few loops and then you're gonna pull it, and then you're just gonna work like this until you reach the part when you started to decrease. It makes sense that you're gonna count the rows and put a stitch marker where you start to decrease, but I know which row of the color I started to decrease, so because I wrote it down everything. So I'm gonna do that and I'm coming back. So I'm just finished my mattress stitch, and then to within my ends I'm just gonna go back like this just to secure the thread. And I have no technique here, to be honest. And I take my beginning thread, I just tie a knot. Can you see it? Yeah, I'm gonna tie a knot here, and there you have the first seam, and it looks really clean from the front. And then I'm gonna do it to the other side as well. I'm just gonna lay it like this, pull the front side in like this, and just do the same thing again. And there you have it, finished vest. Now I'm gonna see if I do a border around here, because I think it just looks unfinished like this. And for this I'm gonna just pick up stitches around the armholes and just do two, basically no, I just pick up one round, knit it, and then the next round I'm gonna bind it off, so you have basically 2 rows on the armholes. But I'm just gonna see which color I'm gonna do that with. And then I'm gonna do, I wanted to do 1 row of crochet color around here, but I don't know which color, if I should do white because it's already white here. In my other vest I did it with red, but if I do red here it looks strange, so I'm not sure what I should do. Should I put white around here? We're working from the outside of our project, and I'm gonna start here. I'm gonna go in here, pick up my thread, and just pull it through like this. And then on the other side you want to have the same one. You want to go through from the front like this, and just pick it up like this, so you have your 2 strands here like this. I'm just gonna go for the messy edge. I'm gonna look for the V. I'm just gonna, or should I, no, I have to go like this, there's no other way actually, and just pull it through. Then I'm looking for the next V. You can see here, just gonna put my needle through, pull my yarn up like this, and then you have your yarn here, and you just continue like this all the way to the other side. I feel like the red one is just so much harder, and it was so much easier on my other vest because I didn't have to or weave in ends. And then the next V, this, it's a bit tight like this. Yeah, and I'm just gonna continue like this all the way around, and I'm gonna show you, or I'm gonna meet you when I arrived here for the second row. I'm here again. I just picked up the stitches around the armholes, and now I'm just gonna knit and bind off in this row. So I'm knitting. I knit one, just gonna pull it over. I showed you this before, nothing special, and I'm gonna meet you at the end. I finished this side as well, and I'm just gonna weave in the ends like this, so there's this gap will so I can close this gap. I have difficulty talking today. Just gonna furl like this. As before, I don't have any technique or anything when it comes to weaving ends. Honestly, I just do whatever. Does anyone has like a technique to weave in ends? If you do, let me know. So I'm just gonna do a knot twice and then it's done. So that's how it's looking. I'm actually obsessed with it, and I think like these little borders on the armholes just make it so much better, so much more neat. But I think I'm gonna do one row of crochet on the neck hole just to give it the same amount of white up here as well, because I only got one row up here. So I'm gonna do that really quick. I can show you, of course, how I do it. So I'm gonna go with a 5mm crochet hook. You cannot see it, but it's 5mm, and I'm gonna work on the front. I'm just gonna start right here on the shoulder parts. Just gonna pull it through, yarn into my hand, and just make a single crochet. And I'm working as I picked up the loops on the armholes, just going every V around the borders basically. So for the next one, I would go in here, take both loops on your hook, pull through, make a single crochet. As always, no technique, no system, nothing. And here it is, my finished sweater vest.